Thank you for joining us again for Let the Bible Speak. Always delighted to be with you and always delighted to help you in your study of the scriptures. If there's materials that you need or you're interested in a Bible study, or you would just you maybe have a question and you're looking for a Bible answer, we encourage you to call us at 843-553-5157. Again, that number is 843-553-5157. Today, I'd like us to take a look at a subject that many view to be extremely interesting. And yet, I don't think it's meant to be sort of a subject that is to entertain us, but rather what John's doing is he's warning those to whom he's writing about the certain group of people. He refers to them as Antichrist. Notice that I said a group of people. And that's one of the things we want to talk about. I've titled today's lesson a few things about the Antichrist. I'd like this to be part one, and so I will pick up with part two the next time we have this time together. The Bible shows this phraseology, Antichrist, in 1 John chapter 2, and specifically verse 18. John says, "Little children, it is the last hour, and as you have heard, that the Antichrist is coming." And then he says, "Even now, many Antichrists have come, by which we know that it is the last hour." So a couple of things come out there. One is this word Antichrist, and from the Greek, all it really means is to be against Christ. So it's not something spectacular. It's just a person who is against Christ. And then we get really some clarity on what it's actually talking about when it talks about being against Christ as we look further in the text. But the first thing I want to sort of walk away with is that all it really means is simply to be against Christ. You can be anti many different things in life. The second thing I want us to think about, or at least walk away with, is that the Bible speaks of Antichrist in the plural sense, meaning that there were more than one. And you notice again in verse 18 of this text, 1 John 2, verse 18, he says, "And even now, many antichrists, plural, have come, by which we know it's the last hour." And so there was a plurality. There's more than just one. Maybe the third thing that I want us to sort of walk away with is that this concept of Antichrist was not something that was to come, particularly in our day, but rather existed in John's day. Notice what he says in verse 19. He says, "They went out from us, but they were not of us. For if they had been of us, they would have continued with us. But they went out that they might be made manifest that none of them were of us." Now, I just don't know how many times the scripture has to say us for us to get that it's not talking about us, you and me, but John is talking about himself and thus the disciples of that day. And so these antichrists, they went out from, as John says, us, the people of that time. And then maybe the fourth and final thing I will add, as part of part one, is that when the phrase the Antichrist is used, because it's used in the text, it is not referring to a specific someone, suggesting there's only one, but rather it is referring to anyone who meets the criteria. And that could be, again, anybody. That shows up in again, chapter 2, 1 John chapter 2. Look at verse 22 and verse 23. "Who is a liar," he says, "but he who denies that Jesus is the Christ. He is Antichrist." Now, note, more than one person can be a liar. It is anyone who is a liar, the one who denies that Jesus is the Christ. And so that could be any number of people. And if you are a person who denies that Jesus is the Christ, the word Christ just means the anointed one of God, then he says you are anti-Christ. You are against Christ. That's all he's saying. Who denies the Father denies the Son, he says. Verse 23, "Whoever denies the Son does not have the Father either. He who acknowledges the Son has the Father also." And so he just calls out this concept that there is maybe those, that there were those in that day that denied that Jesus was the Christ or denied that he was the Messiah. The Greek word Christ, the Hebrew word is Messiah. And so there were those that rejected that concept. There are those today that reject Jesus as the Christ, and they deny that Jesus come in the flesh. And they are anti-Christ by the scriptures definition. But when John is talking about it, John is not talking about our day. He is talking about his day. We know that because he says they were part of us. They went out from us, even though they were not of us. Something of that nature. The reality, they were part of the local church, it seemed, during the first century. And these folks rejected the fact that Jesus was the Christ, the anointed one, the chosen one of God. I hope this is helpful as you try to process, this teaching concerning Antichrist. And the reason why we take a moment today and talk about it is that there are a lot of false teachings out there. People come up with all kinds of things that they've created in their minds. It sounds good, it seems spectacular, and people listen. But I'm trusting that those of you who are tuning in are true Bible students, and you'll go to the Bible for your answers. But when it comes down to a matter of faith, it comes down to a matter of the church, when it comes down to a matter of who Jesus really was, when it comes down to anything of a spiritual nature, you will let the Bible speak. I hope you'll join us next time. Again, if you want more material, go ahead and give us a call, 843-553-5157, 843-553-5157. We'll see you next time.